Hello and welcome to another episode of Disney Movie Investigation. If this is your first time watching, welcome to the show. In each episode, we take a look at a movie that is featured on Disney+. On this episode, we're taking a look at a Christmas favorite as we take a look at Home Alone, starring Macaulay Culkin. And if you are enjoying these videos, we do ask that you please hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified with each new video. But for now, sit back and enjoy this episode of Disney Movie Investigation. So like I said, today we are covering Home Alone. This movie was released on November 10th, 1990. It was directed by Christopher Columbus, and it was written by John Hughes. The production company is Hughes Entertainment, and it was distributed by 20th Century Fox. The budget for this movie was $18 million, and it did a box office return of $476.7 million. But let's take a look at the production. So John Hughes thought of the idea of Home Alone when he was preparing for vacation and thought what would happen if he forgot to bring his 10-year-old kid and he was left alone. Hughes would go on to write 8 pages of notes that would be developed into a screenplay. The film was originally supposed to be financed and distributed by Warner Brothers with a promise from Hughes that he could shoot the film for $10 million. Hughes was worried initially that he would need a bigger budget, so he actually secretly met with 20th Century Fox executives to see if they would fund the project if Warner Brothers passed on a higher budget. Early in the production, the budget actually would increase to $14.7 million, and Warner Brothers would demand that Hughes cut the budget by $1.2 million. Producers told Warner Brothers that the budget was as low as it could go, and Warner's, being unconvinced, shut the project down. Fox quickly took Hughes up on the offer, and the production resumed with an $18 million budget. Hughes would ask originally Patrick Reed Johnson to direct the film, but he was committed to directing Space Invaders. The second choice was Christopher Columbus, who recently left the production of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation over personality clashes with leading actor Chevy Chase. Columbus would claim that Chase treated him like dirt. Columbus would do an uncredited rewrite on the script, adding the old Marley character into the screenplay. Initially, Columbus wanted composer Bruce Broughton to compose the score, but Broughton was busy scoring the Disney film The Rescuers Down Under. Steven Spielberg would help Columbus get in touch with John Williams, who agreed to score the film, and a soundtrack was released on December 4th, 1990. In terms of casting, Hughes initially suggested Macaulay Culkin, who he had worked with on Uncle Buck, to star in the lead, but Columbus still auditioned 200 other actors because he felt it was his director's responsibility. Columbus would finally meet with Culkin, and he agreed that he was the right choice. Robert De Niro and Jon Lovitz both turned down the role of Harry, but Joe Pesci accepted it. The role of Uncle Frank was written for Kelsey Grammer in mind, but he ultimately declined. So there is a little bit of interesting history with Daniel Stern in terms of this movie. So Daniel Stern was cast as Marv, but before shooting, he was told that the schedule would be extended from 6 weeks to 8 weeks. When Daniel Stern found out about this, he asked for additional pay for the extra 2 weeks of shooting, but the studio declined. So Daniel Roebuck was cast to replace Stern, but after 2 days of rehearsal, Columbus agreed to bring back Stern as the chemistry with Pesci was better with Stern than it was with Roebuck. And John Candy, for his cameo in this movie, was only available for 1 day to shoot the scenes, which took 23 hours to shoot. He was actually only paid $414, but the condition was he was allowed to improv his own dialogue. So let's take a look at the cast. So we have Macaulay Culkin, who plays Kevin McAllister. Joe Pesci is Harry. Daniel Stern is Marv. John Hurd is Peter McAllister, the father. Robert Blossom is Marley. We have Catherine O'Hara, who plays Kate. Gary Bayman, who plays Uncle Frank. And then John Candy does a cameo as Gus Polanski. So in terms of the plot, it is Christmas time, and the McAllister family is prepared to head to Paris for vacation. 8-year-old Kevin is the black sheep of the house, who regularly is picked on by his cousins and siblings, and his parents are annoyed by his antics. Kevin finds himself forced to sleep on the third floor of the house the night before they leave. The next day, the McAllisters accidentally sleep in and barely make it on their flight, but when they are airborne, they realize that they forgot Kevin. As the family desperately tries to book a flight back to Chicago, Kevin is thrilled to have the house to himself. However, a pair of burglars named Harry and Marv, who have robbed several houses in the neighborhood, now have their sights on the McAllister house, and it is up to Kevin to thwart them. So in terms of the legacy, this movie ended up being number one for 12 weeks in a row after it premiered. It was incredibly popular. It would go on to be one of the first VHS movies to directly sell rather than go to the video rental market, and it was the highest selling VHS movie of all time, passing the recently successful E.T. The movie ended up being the third highest grossing movie of all time behind Star Wars and E.T., and it would be the highest grossing comedy until 2011, when it was finally passed by The Hangover Part 2. The film was nominated for Best Score and Best Original Song at the Academy Awards. To help promote the film movie, because this was a family film, a novel was written by Todd Strasser to coincide with the film. And another book to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the film, an illustrated book was released by Kim Smith. There were several video games based on Home Alone, and they were released for the NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Game Boy, Game Gear, and Mega DOS systems. And then recently, on December 19th, 2018, Macaulay Culkin reprised his role as Kevin for an ad for Google Assistant. The ad contains shot-for-shot remakes, with the only difference being that Kevin uses Google Assistant when he is at home alone. I'm not going to go into the sequels because we're going to do individual videos for them individually. But in terms of recommending this movie, if anyone hasn't seen this movie, they've been living under a rock. It's a Christmas staple. I think everybody has seen this. It's often one that I rewatch during the holidays, and even sometimes not even during the holidays when I want a nice kind of family comedy. I like the story, and I think that Macaulay Culkin is able to carry the film, which is rare in a family film. Usually a kid star, it's the acting and the comedic timing is not there, but it is with Macaulay Culkin. I think everyone watching it is kind of one of the things is the story is the second part, but it leads up to wanting to get to the traps in the final kind of third of the movie. But even still, it does have definitely a good story leading up to that. So definitely recommend this one if you have not seen it. So thank you so much for joining us here on Disney Movie Investigation. If anyone would love to leave a comment on what their favorite moment of the film is, that would be definitely appreciated. So as we look forward to our next video, we are going to be looking at another family comedy as we take a look at Freaky Friday, starring Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. So until next time, I hope you have a magical day, and we will see you real soon.